And the reason we're not scrambling is because we've been able to generate so much brand awareness and direct traffic and organic traffic from our mentions, from word of mouth that is fueled by the influencers that we're working with, that it's insulating us from some of the dynamic changes that are happening in the other channels. Our demo requests increased by 75% on the day before, the day of, and the day after we do a podcast with her. Wildly impactful.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Welcome into Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast. I'm Vince Quinn, and today we're talking about the ins and outs of influencer marketing. I had to really cheese that up. I don't know why, but it's just what we're doing today.
That's okay.
Yeah, and humoring me very kindly is Amy Warren. She is the vice president of marketing at Fama, not Fama,
Yeah,
Fama.
Fama.
And Amy, thank you for being here on Future Fuzz.
Hey, thanks for having me, Vince. I'm excited to talk about this because we're doing a lot with influencers, and if the work that we're doing can help others, like, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and the work is so fascinating. So, I mean, first off, just give people like the very basic idea of what Fama is and really why you decided to start with this whole path that you went on with using influencers to support the business.
So Fama is a social media screening company, and what we do is we screen someone's publicly available online content for misconduct, right? So we're looking to reduce risk. And some of the people that we've screened, doctors selling body parts that are applying for hospitals, CFOs who've actually committed fraud, and we've found that information out while they're like applying to be another CFO.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that that we find, and by the way, all of this is public, so it's things that people have posted publicly. And I think it's super, super relevant and important right now because people spend more time online than they do in real life. So really understanding if people are participating in misconduct, are they harassing other people, right? Are they doing things that are going to make your company culture and your environment toxic or expose you, right? Whether it's in a financial way, like the CFO, is really something that needs to be part of an organization's background screening process as they're bringing on new employees.
Yeah,
So
and if you could bring in somebody and it turns out that, Jim in accounting loses his leg and then it ends up on the black market, you want to know about that. Like you want to prevent that risk. So yeah, totally makes sense.
And I will say this, like in all seriousness, we actually stopped the workplace shooter.
Oh my God.
So we also do screenings of current employees too for risk. And we found somebody's manifesto, the whole 9 yards, and it was not a very short period of time the authorities thought from what was discovered to taking action. So, a lot of, serious things that end up coming up. And I think it's just a part of good due diligence at this point, with what we do. And I will say this for us at Fama. So we work with 95% of the background screening companies. Like we are the global provider of online screening. So even if it's, it doesn't say Fama, we white label. So chances are it is a Fama report. And we are the category leader in what we do. So, I'm kind of doing and wearing two hats as a marketer. It's not just our B2B marketing that we're doing for growing our own business, but then it's also the marketing for the category and really evangelizing the benefits of social media screening.
Yeah, which I mean is so fascinating, the social media screening. Obviously, when people think about influencers, you're going to think about what are the things that they're posting and looking into their background, they're representing your brand, all that kind of stuff. So it all ties together in a very nice way. And I guess when it comes to the work that you are doing, when it comes to influencers, first off, I think it is a specific thing, and I would love for you to just define like what you would consider an influencer in this case.
I'm looking at who our target buyers are. So our ICP primarily is heads of HR, heads of talent acquisition. So I use a tool, which some people may have heard of it. It's called SparkToro. And what it does is I put those titles in and it tells me what content the people with those titles are engaging with. So it'll show me podcasts, it'll show me any kind of like newsletters, that type of media, YouTube channels, just a whole array of different types of media that my particular buyer may be looking at. And then there's this special thing that they have in there called hidden gems. So it's opportunities where maybe they're micro influencers, maybe the audience is small, but they have a high attach rate. So that's one of the places that I go to first to really understand who are the voices that my buyer is listening to. And you know, candidly, I'll share, like, I've been in the HR tech industry for a number of years. So what that does is it also confirms what my own industry knowledge is of who I think the thought leaders are in the industry, and who, if, you know, we can work with them, they believe in what we do, can evangelize our solution and immediately connect with our buyers. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I do is I look at our buyer profile, and I want to learn about how are they looking to buy? How do they want to be talked to? You know, sort of what is their path to buying? And all of this is probably nothing new that I'm sharing with everyone. And for our particular buyer, they want to learn about a solution through a thought leader, a referral, or an event. Those are their top places. So I know that this becomes this channel becomes even that much more important, because that's how my buyers want to be educated, and that's how they want to buy. So I take that information in, and now I've determined, okay, I've got maybe this list of 10, whether it's people, influencers, or is it certain sites that they're going to, right? Like, we've got some sites that are just very well-known go-to places for thought leadership in the industry. It's not necessarily attached to a particular person, but, you know, they're consuming content there. So now I'm looking at, I want to work with these people on an individual basis. And then I also want to work with some of these, whether it's a publication or, you know, however the other channels are, I'm going to go and talk to them too. And then what I do is create like a program with them. You know, so some of them might be, hey, you know, we're going to post on behalf of you, or we've got research that we put out every year. It's our misconduct report. It's our benchmark reporting. It tells us the state of misconduct. So it's, you know, what % of our reports have a flag of misconduct in it. So people can understand, hey, when you get screenings done, how many people and by what industry are you expecting to get a result in? So like media and entertainment, for example, 25% of the people that we screen have at least one bad flag on their reports.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So we partnered with an influencer a couple of years ago, actually, when we released our state of misconduct report. And so they helped co-author it. And then we both together evangelized it and pushed it out. So that's how we do it from like an execution standpoint. And each particular like influencer will do something like that is specific to what that influencer does best. Like, we're not trying to get somebody to do something that maybe they wouldn't normally do. We want to meet their audience where they're at and doing the things with the influencer that they prefer, right? So especially like podcasts, we'll have our CEO come on and do a podcast. And I will say, I'm fortunate. My CEO is awesome on podcasts, live, off the cuff, and is always willing to do things. So I have the benefit of that. And then we measure everything. And I think that this is the key that sort of separates the effectiveness of what we do versus what you may be doing out there. Because I mean, I could expect people to say, oh, well, whatever, you're working with influencers, but how do you know that actually has impact? So we have a weekly meeting. I meet with my team once a week, and we look at our session data by day. And we look at our demo requests that are coming in by day, because that's one of our key metrics. And then we have another report that shows us the different activities that we've done on each given day. So how many social posts have we put out? How many blog posts? What influencers did we work with on a daily basis? And then we look for spikes. And so we say, okay, on average, we get so many demo requests a day. But look at this particular day. We were up 25%. What did we do on that day? And we go back and we look. And this is a very granular process. There is no way that you can really automate this. And if somebody knows, let me know, right? Because I would love to have this automated.
Yeah.
And that's how we know whose audiences are the most sticky and have the direct impact. And I know all the best influencers in my industry to work with, that if we work with them and we do something with them, there's one in particular that we do it, our demo requests increased by 75% on the day before, the day of, and the day after we do a podcast with her.
Wow.
Wildly impactful. And I can calculate ROI on that, because now I will say, okay, we're going to attribute these additional demo requests. Like what we'll do is we'll attribute like all the demo requests that came in on that day, right? Mm-hmm. And then we'll follow that through the pipeline. And I will tell you what we found for us in particular. Podcasts are our number one demo request generating influencer activity. And the amount of pipeline that we've created is impressive with that. And even to go back, because I remember this number off the top of my head, the example that I was giving with the misconduct report, where we worked with a particular influencer to help promote it and co-author it with us, that report alone so far has created $350,000 in pipeline. And I think, at most we spent $5,000 on it. Yeah. And I can absolutely give all of those metrics, and I can, I could go into a board meeting. I can go to my CEO and say, okay, we did these activities. This is where we are with revenue impact. And next year, these are the people we want to work with again. We had a situation at the beginning of this year, in March. I mean, probably a lot of people had this issue when the Google algorithm changed. Like, it hit our organic traffic. And the primary source of demos for us comes from organic and direct. And it comes from organic and direct because of our influencer activity, right?
Yeah.
So when we got hit in organic, we were like, we saw about a 20% decline in our pipeline. So I sat down with my team and I said, okay, pull up the list. Who are the influencers that have the biggest direct impact on our demo requests? Let's start booking things with them through the quarter. So while we're trying to fix this, we're not going to lose our pipeline creation, and we're not going to impact missing our goals for the quarter. And we immediately did that. We spun up some of the influencers. And I will say this, we were just shy of hitting our numbers for the quarter, but instead of it being a bloodbath, right, we were able to pull it out, and it gave us time to fix our organic.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Which is incredible. And I mean, the way you detail all of this, one, appreciate the level of detail, like so methodical of the way you're going through, like step by step, all the different things, the full intention of it, how it comes together, what the results are like, how you're processing that. Like, it's fantastic. So I genuinely appreciate that. And what I would love to state too is like really what this is built on, because what you said at the beginning there is just this idea that you're looking to connect with people that are in your space and believe in what you do. You know what I'm like? I can't state how important that is, as simple as it sounds, because the number of times where people are like, oh, we'll just pay this person, we'll just pay that person. Like, they have an audience, it's whatever. But you get this disconnect where, okay, the campaign might be okay. It's not as electric as it could be because they're not really gassed up about what you do. They don't genuinely care. They're just happy to take the cash. And like, when you have that relationship with somebody where they genuinely like, respect, value, believe in it, and you can build that, like you're saying now, where you have this long-term relationship that comes from being in flow with them and understanding their audience and your client, and like how those things align, and just making it a natural partnership rather than like a sponsorship, which on that simple level is just, hey, we're just going to pay you for this. And, you just kind of hope for the best.
You're bringing up a really good point, because I think often I don't think about this piece of it. A lot of the influencers that I work with, to your point, I've built personal relationships with. I talk with them on a regular basis. I seek their counsel on things that I'm doing. I've been working with them for a number of years, regardless of the company that I'm at. And because we've developed such a nice relationship with, it's almost like a community to a certain extent. Um, they're able to give me insight into things that maybe I wouldn't have seen before or didn't know. A lot of times, a lot of them are at the forefront of what's going on in our industry, so I can get a bit of a heads up. And that's been really beneficial. And I mean, I'll even say, like, on a personal level, like career perspective, um, as I've moved to different companies in the, staying in the same industry, I'll call them up. There's a couple of them that like are like my, I would say top 3 or 5 first week on the job. Hey, this is what I'm doing now. What do you think? Or even before I take it, what do you think? And I'll never forget this one conversation I had when I first started at Fama. Um, the response was, Amy, you're working there? And I said, yeah. He's like, all right, I'm going to have to think about this again because I'm not really quite sure I'm on board with what you guys do. But if you're there and you're comfortable with it, there's got to be more to it. So talk me through this. I want to talk to the CEO again. Let's have a conversation.
Wow.
And I will say, I'll share some numbers with everybody that aren't too detailed. But, when I first came on board in 2022, we were in single digit revenue numbers. And in 3 years, we went from single digit revenue numbers to almost quadrupling what we're doing from a revenue perspective.
Wow.
And a lot of the things that are going on right now with AEO, with SEO changes, yeah, it's hitting us, but we're not scrambling. And the reason we're not scrambling is because we've been able to generate so much brand awareness and direct traffic and organic traffic from our mentions, from word of mouth that is fueled by the influencers that we're working with, that it's insulating us from some of the dynamic changes that are happening in the other channels. And I will say this, like our CPL when I first started was $65. It's now $18 or $19. We've had flat spend year over year. And our traffic this year, our direct and organic traffic is up 70%.
Wow.
Right? These are real numbers. So whether it's from like, a career benefit perspective that, you're bringing relationships with you, you're bringing more than just your talent and your experience, but, things that you can immediately come in and do and have impact. And then to be able to insulate yourself from, changes that are happening from the different channels and also budget impacts. It's really what I've found to be such a good foundational method. If the industry is right, if the fit is right, so this is what this is our buyer behavior. So it's matching our buyer behavior. We have really great thought leaders in the industry to work with. So, there are other considerations in play in this. I can't say, hey, every industry, this is going to work and rinse and repeat this. But definitely, I would say if you're not doing this already in a very thoughtful way, in a measurable way, not just in a, hey, I'm just going to throw some money over here to this influencer and, oh, look, nothing happened, but we don't have the right discipline to measure the impact, then I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you. But I mean, all these things though, they make sense. Like from that standpoint too of being able to get that reading from these influencers of where they see the marketplace and all these other industry players, right? Like that's one of those fundamental things is a lot of those people tend to have a pretty good pulse of the landscape broadly. So to be able to get that perspective and get that more granular aspect because they're having conversations with people from all these different businesses and different sides of the equation when it comes to your industry, and so they can see a lot, and the value of that information is crazy. I mean, it's really hard to think of opportunities because honestly, like from doing this show, right? I've been in this chair now for a couple of months, and even though it's been running for like 3 years now, but to see the different kinds of CEOs, CMOs, different industries of SaaS and healthcare and agencies and all these other things. And you get it together and it's just like, oh my God, the amount of information is crazy. Am I feeling the landscape and the trends that people are doing? And where am I seeing commonalities of stuff? It's so fascinating. And it's been such a joy in that way. But it is an advantage that those kinds of people get, because their whole perspective is to essentially read the room, and they're giving opinions that people who are in the room agree with. Like, on some level, it's really
yeah.
that simple. Yeah.
Oh, and I'll tell you, like when we're getting ready to launch a new product, right? So we've launched two new products since I've been at Fama. And prior to launch, and significantly prior to launch, I went and reached out to a couple of them, talked to them about it, and said, hey, look, this is what we're thinking of launching. This is how I'm thinking of launching it. This is the message that I'm thinking of doing. And we sit and have a half an hour phone conversation, because they're just as engaged and interested in it as I am, right? And that kind of insight, you can't buy that anywhere. And the insight that they're providing is exactly what you said, because they've got this view of the space, because they're talking to a whole bunch of different companies and they're talking to buyers, because that's the one thing that's super interesting. There are so many heads of HR in my space, chief human resource officers, that will call them up and say, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z. What do you think are the best solutions out there? And I will tell you, we will be named if our solution meets that. And that is another like ancillary benefit to that, because everyone is going to these thought leaders for information and bypassing everything else, because everyone wants to get to a short list fast, right? And so how can you be that top of mind company that's mentioned and referred to get on that short list?
Yeah, it's what it's all about. So, Amy, this has been awesome. I knew this would be great. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you, again, just walking us through everything, your whole mindset here. I think it's really sharp. The results are obvious, like very successful. So congratulations to you on running this kind of campaign. Really incredible. And thanks again for taking the time to be on Future Fuzz.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.